All right, it's the Morning Brew. I'm Larry Aarons. Co-hosting this week is Matt Gentry, and with us here at the table is the one and only Dan Mayfield.
Morning.
With Albuquerque Business First. How you doing, Dan?
I'm well. I'm real well.
Good to see you.
He didn't sing your name. Dan Mayfield. Is that better?
It's wonderful.
Thank you.
It's
You
got
need
that
a
wonderful
jingle.
four-syllable thing you can do that with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
Some very interesting businesses. There's always interesting stuff that you bring.
We're finding interesting, fun stuff at Business First. It's great. And, last couple weeks ago, UNM announced that it was seating the board of directors for the new Innovate Albuquerque.
Right.
It's a business incubator, business development park downtown. It's really one of the progenitors of the Innovation Corridor, Innovation District idea downtown. It was the first thing, and UNM is really putting a lot of effort into this, gotten a lot of community support for it, buying the old First Baptist Church there on the corner of Broadway and Central. It's a 7-acre site. It's beautiful. It could really be something very special. And they put a new board of directors on it. And at first, Bernalillo County was mad because there was no county representative, even though the county gave $1 million to help build this thing.
Huh.
And so that was kind of like step one. And then step two, a lot of local community members who've been really stepping up in the entrepreneurship community, who've been stepping up inside the startup world that this Innovate ABQ Center is supposed to attract. Those people all of a sudden said, hey, wait, this is the same old guys that have been doing all these other things, and we want something different. And it was guys who have built the San Diego Science and Tech Park up near the base, and the STC.UNM Tech Park over by UNM. And basically, they were calling out the university for saying there's no women, no minorities, and I think more importantly, no millennials on this board of directors, which is very interesting to me. And here's basically a site and an idea geared toward young entrepreneurs with different and newer ideas. And it was the guys who have built things using the old ideas and exactly what the city was trying to get away from. Anyway, it's exploded. It's really been an interesting thing to follow. And what's happened because of that now is that the city is telling them, this happened Friday, the city said that they will withhold their $2 million in funding for this thing if UNM doesn't diversify the board of directors. And it's a very interesting thing.
Why is it so difficult to not push out the old guard, but why is it so difficult for the old guard to
step aside?
Pride, or?
I think they just have the experience. When you're trying to build something, and this is a real estate project, and at its core, it's really a 7-acre real estate project, and the guys who have done this helped build I think it's 27 acres is what the Science and Tech Park is, and then it's about 30 acres is what the UNM effort was. And so it kind of, I think at the very beginning, when the Board of Regents at UNM invited these guys to be on the board, they said, oh, who has the experience? Rather than looking at who has the ideas. And I think that was the difference. And that's what really angered a lot of people in that community that have been trying to get there and trying to do things in that neighborhood. Bill Banks with ABQID, we've talked about the Business Accelerator program down there quite a bit. And, he's a younger guy, he's got great new ideas, he's putting his own money into 11 new startups and trying to do something very interesting and very tech-oriented there. And they didn't talk to him about it. Lisa Adkins, who's running Fat Pipe, which is the new business incubator and co-working space just across the street from it. She and Stuart Rose went in and built this thing specifically based on the ideas that Innovate was bringing. Right. And they didn't talk to Lisa about being on the board. And they didn't talk to a lot of the other people who have been in that community who are doing those exact things. And a lot of them happen to be basically younger than the guys who are on the board of directors.
And let me understand how UNM became the one to decide who was on the board.
They were the regents are the ones who are officially buying the land.
I see. So they figure they're writing the check. They're going to pick the people.
Exactly. Of course, there were several other community groups that stepped up, and this is the other interesting part about it too. The New Mexico Educators Federal Credit Union stepped in with $3 million. The county gave $1 million. The city's giving $2 million. Wow. And so everybody's really involved in this big effort. And then when they brought in the same old guys that had been doing it, it really, I think, cut to the core of what many people in the community thought it shouldn't be.
If you need some investment dollars, I have like 17 bucks.
I got about $350 in my wallet
That I'd
right
like
now.
I'd like to invest in that.
Perfect. I don't know if that's enough to get you on the board yet, but the city has said they will broaden the board now.
Hey, never hurts to
yeah,
ask.
no doubt. No
So
doubt.
I think the task remains, how do we let the UNM Board of Regents save face
Right.
and back out of this a little bit
Right.
and reconstitute this board?
And that's been, I think, a struggle for the city and also for the county and even, I think, for the credit union because
Yeah.
they don't want to be involved in, the reason they put their money in to begin with was they wanted to be part of something that was new ideas.
Yeah.
It is called the Innovation District for a
Yes.
reason. And not that the guys who built the other things weren't innovative. They were innovative 20 years ago, 30 years ago when those business parks were first designed. And this is something that's supposed to be entirely different. So what they're trying to do now is push the county and the city are trying to push the regions to appoint new members that have basically newer ideas. You know, the whole idea with this when Bob Frank went to Florida originally and came up with the idea and brought it here was that, you know, it was something entirely different, something we had never seen here before. And so they're trying to push the city to find those kinds of people that add to that board.
More of a law firm model where they take typically senior partners who've been with the law firm a long time and make them advisory partners and of counsel or emeritus partners who can be there for advice.
Right.
They're the tribal elders, if you will,
Right.
that are looking.
The ones with experience who know the pitfalls, who know
Right.
yeah. And that's one way that they can go too. The problem is UNM kind of ate its own lunch by adding all those guys first and making them the directors to begin with.
Yeah.
Rather than saying they will be mentors, rather than saying they will be advisors. They are the directors. And that kind of threw a wrench in it. And you know, once these things get big, the UNM has now said they will expand the board, but what does that mean? What will that look like? You know, and I think the challenge too is that they don't want diversity simply for diversity's sake.
No.
They want diversity because it's good for the project.
It's got to be meaningful.
It's got to be meaningful, and that's the challenge with this too. You know, you don't just add people because they fit a certain category. You know, we need a millennial, we'll find a guy. You know,
Hey, you,
right?
with the goatee,
Right.
Get over here.
Yeah, you look like you'd be 26. Come on in. No, you have to find the people with the right experience. You know,
Sure.
and so
And they're out there.
They're out there,
They're all
absolutely.
over the place.
They are, and it just shows that the school didn't look.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, and I'm really interested in the whole story and how it's developing because really Innovate, in the Innovate corridor, in the Innovation District, that whole area is such a growth area for the city. It's where we're seeing real estate investment. It's where we're seeing, you know, new ideas and new people. Tech companies are moving downtown simply because of this. You know, that whole kind of eastern edge of the downtown core is really alive with ideas because of this. And if it doesn't kind of address the community issues and community ideas of what people think it needs to be, it could fall flat, and nobody wants that, especially in such a high-profile site.
Yeah.
No.
And in this economy.
Right.
Indeed.
Yeah.
A couple other business notes, and I didn't know this until you walked into here
Yes.
today and announced the housing area out in the west side, Rio Rancho,
Mariposa.
has been sold.
Yeah, a group out of, it's called Harvard Investments, bought it, and guys are trying to turn it into something more like Scottsdale. It's very interesting, and they have really big ideas. And for those that don't remember what happened at Mariposa, it's a giant housing development on the west side. I think it was 350 different housing plots.
Upscale homes.
Upscale homes, beautiful place. It's like on this hill, it overlooks the valley. Beautiful, beautiful neighborhood. And they went into what was called a business improvement district. And so that means the residents paid a little bit higher taxes on their own to pay for their own services, such as roads and sewer hookups and that kind of stuff, because it's a lot of land, and you know they figure out a way to basically get money to pay for all of those services out there. I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago now, basically the business improvement district part of that went bankrupt, and they didn't know what to do, and they were stuck. And so basically the company that had owned it sold it off, and kind of things tumbled down.
It was very awkward there for a
It was
while.
very awkward, and roads weren't getting paved, people weren't getting sewer hookups, people weren't getting water hookups to their homes, their electrical hookups were kind of a nightmare. Could you imagine having to finance on your own a sewer hookup in the
No.
city? It's
No.
And that's basically the position people were put in when the development went bankrupt.
And the homeowners hired lawyers and everybody.
It was a mess.
Yeah,
it was
just
a
crazy.
first-class mess out there.
Yeah.
And now it looks like things are maybe going to pick up. Now, if these guys can come in, and if they really do have the capital to invest, it might actually help. Although I did talk to one friend out there who says it's been nice and quiet, and she hasn't had any neighbors since the place went bankrupt. And she's worried about getting a whole bunch of new neighbors, but she's also
there's
excited about that. So.
Somewhat of an upside to that
Right.
whole mess.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that's a positive development.
Yeah.
You don't want to see
Absolutely.
things go fallow. And Mariposa is a nice area.
It's a beautiful area.
Way the heck out there, but it's
It
a
is.
nice area.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's not that far actually. I live in California. Have you ever lived in California?
No, thank
Well,
God.
yeah, the drive, yes.
You know, we drove an hour to church. You know, it's like, it doesn't matter. But it's, like,
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's funny how people think 20 miles is far.
Yeah.
Hey,
Well, if you don't have to live 20 miles away, you don't have to in Albuquerque, and I think that's one of the joys of the city.
That's
know?
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
all right, well, I guess that's our time.
Oh, awesome.
Okay.
Well, we'll see you next week, and we'll talk about more awesome stuff.
Yeah, I love it. I
Okay.
love what you bring to the show, Dan. Thank you. Dan Mayfield, everybody, reporter with Albuquerque Business First. Always great stuff here on the show to start our week. I'm Larry Ernst with co-host Matt Gentry, and we'll be right back with more on the Morning Brew right after this time out.